Yes, I'm live. Hey guys, what's going on? All right, I just had to stream tonight. I felt like streaming. I don't even know what I'm going to stream about, to be honest. But here I am. What's good, y'all? What's good, y'all? What y'all niggas talking about in the chat here? All right, so this is pretty much open. So if you guys want an invite, just let me know. So I was watching some Ed Dutton videos today, and it was about like race, of course, and all that. And then I watched another video he did about like choosing somebody. And well, I don't, shoot, who was it? Let me actually find that video because he was talking to, I think the guy was like Finnish, or yeah, I think he was Finnish, but they were talking about what was it? Well, he talked about the Jews a little bit. But talking about the different races and whatnot, and it really is interesting. And this stuff never like interested me before until now. Let me see. No, let me see. Hold on. Sorry guys, I'm looking for this thing. I want somebody to come on and talk to me about race, because I have this question. Like, is being racist really bad? Like, legit question. Is it is it a bad thing to be a racist? And I don't know, like, I'll give you an example. So my oldest daughter, she was around a year old, and all her life, before this point, she grew up in California. Okay, so it's only a year, but she only saw basically like Asian people, Asian men, because my husband. And so I went to Virginia, and so this is like kind of what really, I don't know, it hit me back then, but now it's making more sense. So anyway, I go to Virginia, and all of my family, they're like tall and white. They all have blue eyes. A lot of them have like beards. So I remember her reaction seeing all these dudes that are in my family, and she just would cry. She would not let them hold her. Like, she was not having it. And I think about it now, and it's it's not because she's racist. It's just because that's not what she was used to, right? And nobody told her to cry and scream about it. It was just came natural to her to cry when she saw something that wasn't recognizable. So I don't know. It's kind of interesting. And my dog, oh my God. I have two Aussies, in case you guys don't know. But anyway, my oldest Aussie, when he was a pup, I would walk him around. So we lived in this apartment complex, and he would bark every time there would be a black guy or an Indian guy that would appear. It was kind of embarrassing. He was fine around everybody else until like a black person or like Indian would walk around. And it wasn't because the dog was racist. They probably just smelled funny, you know? What is your ethnicity? Hey, Vivian, by the way. Vivian, you want me to send, I should send you an invite if you want to come on. What is my ethnicity? I'm Appalachian. Somebody, Uncle Lou Duva, called me the Pocahontas of the alt-right. The term racism was invented by the Jewish communist Leon Trotsky in order to break down the ethnic Russian cohesion and to push through communism. Probably so. It's really odd that we're told that being racist is bad. Like, I don't why is that a bad thing? It's not like I don't know. Well, the term racism is I don't know. I just don't think it's that bad, to be honest. All right, hold on. So I have like 4 days left on my normal Twitter account. And so I can only, let me see here. Hold on one second. I had to log out of my new one. I created a new Twitter account today. I'm not going to say it on stream just because I'll keep it anonymous. But hold on a second. Let me log out. Yeah, but I don't think there's anything wrong with being like racist, as long as you're not being mean to people specifically just because they're of their race. Well, I don't know. When I say mean to them, I guess, like physically hurt somebody because of their race, like that's pretty fucked up, right? Like everybody can agree with that. But if I don't want to, like if I own my own business and I don't want to serve Mexicans, like I should be allowed to do that. I'm not saying I would, but yeah, I should be allowed. All right, well, hold on. Okay, I'm gonna send you a invite. There we go. Sorry, I'm gonna read the chat. You deny. Okay, I sent one to you, buddy. Wood pile. Oh, I know a song about the nigger in the wood pile. You guys just need to freaking say it. Like, what are you so scared of? Just say it. It's a fucking word. It like literally, it's just a word. Just say it. Just fucking say it. Nigger, don't that feel good? Get it out. Come on. Get it out. Yeah, Twitter is an addiction. It's so addicting that I couldn't handle. I made it 3 days without starting a new account. I'm mostly pissed because I can't like anything, I can't retweet, I can't comment, I can't even send pictures directly through DMs. They completely shut me out. I can't edit my profile, I can't follow somebody new. Like, it's crazy. Sorry, I'm like sorry, I keep coughing because I'm still getting over this sickness. So pardon me. So where we're not directing to anyone in particular. Yeah. Even if you do, who cares? Like, you should have a right to say whatever the hell you want. And it's true. Like they take words. If you ever like think about the word nigger around your normie friends. Like if you were to walk into a room and they were like basic normie people, they if you just said the word nigger and watch them be like oh my God. It's just a word. Just like one word can have so much impact on people. It's just kind of funny when you think about it. Hey, okay, what's up?
Oh, hey, buddy. How you doing?
Oh, good. I'm glad you came on. I talk so much better with somebody.
I do the same thing so often. Back when I used to do streams, there's sort of a fun thing about having another person because they turn into like, not in a negative way, but like a crutch. You're like, oh, well, I can keep the convo going on. And then it just kind of happens. You're like, yay, content.
Yeah, it's good.
Yeah, I get it. I totally get it.
So,
And I'll have you know, I did in fact say the N-word one time on my stream, so
oh my God.
yeah, I'm pretty based.
God forbid.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know if I don't think I'm brave enough. Like, I guess I'm kind of a hypocrite because I don't think I'm brave enough to like go out and say it in public. Like, although I've wanted to in many cases.
Yeah.
Actually, like blacks aren't even what give me an issue. You know what give me an issue here in Houston? It's the freaking Mexicans. They're everywhere,
yeah.
man.
Yeah. No, I know how it is. And also, speaking of using the word in public, there have been a couple of times where, like, I used to spend way too much time on poll, and you know how that is. There are all the jokes and the memes and so on.
Yeah.
And I know a couple of guys at like my local grocery store, and I hang out with them and I talk with them for a couple of minutes to say hello because it's nice to know people or whatever. And they are black guys, and so help me, I almost said some of those memes featuring the N-word, and I caught myself before I did because I realized, I was like, wait a second, you can't do that in Los Angeles, man. You can't do it.
Like, what are they going to do? They're gonna punch you? Maybe, which isn't worth I guess it's not worth getting punched, but isn't that crazy though? Like you literally have to like think about things in your head before you even say them. Like to me, that's like the psychological aspect of that is crazy to me.
Yeah, we've actually formally entered 1984. Like people police their own language, and once you have people policing their own language, and here's the other thing, I don't know if you've read 1984, but
yeah.
Okay, great. So we're basically in room 101 now, and everyone's like, all right, how many lights are there? Like we're in that right now. Or how many
Hmm.
fingers am I holding up? Star Trek did one with how many lights are there with Picard. It doesn't matter. The point is still the same, which is that they're holding up one number and they're expecting you to say something else, and they want to gaslight you into saying, you know, non-reality. And it sucks. We are now to the point where we can't even discuss reality anymore. And once you can't discuss reality, like that's it. You don't. There's nowhere to go after that except violence.
Hmm.
So
Yeah.
it's a major problem.
Yeah. It's
And
like, it's funny because we can't even speak about what we're not supposed to speak about. And the ADL, I saw that thing about Telegram, like how the ADL is not going to start, you know, being that person, that overseer for Telegram. Like, fuck.
really,
Yeah.
oh my
Apparently,
god,
apparently so. Everybody's like, what are we doing? Like, why hasn't anybody came out with something that's good, that's not going to be ran by freaking Jews?
uh, oh my god. I keep thinking about like a tandem society. That's actually what I keep thinking about, like a yeah, basically just a parallel civilization where all of the commies and the globo homo or whatever, they just have their own civilization. They can do whatever they want. I don't care. You know, I don't like it, but it's like, well, if they're leaving me alone, that's okay. I'm actually okay with that. But unfortunately, there's that old aphorism. There are two kinds of people in the world: those who want to be left alone, and those who will not leave others alone. And the radical left are definitely the second category. So you can't, unfortunately, you can't just go into the woods and expect to be left alone. They'll hunt
Right.
you down and they'll force you to say what they want and to believe what they want. And if you own things that they don't like, they'll take them from you and murder you if you refuse it. So it's, I mean, I'm starting to think that, no Fed posty, but I'm a little obsessed about this topic. I'm just saying that, I really am concerned that in the 2030 area, there's going to be some kind of catalyzing event or something, and America's going to go fucking Spanish Civil War. Anyway, but whatever, it doesn't matter. That's already been hashed out a million times. You had said something earlier about like race realism and all this good stuff, and I just wanted to talk about that topic, that concept, just a little bit because I actually think it's important. And someone in the chat, I wish I could remember who it was. Solid Water, I think, was saying something about how racism was pathologizing of in-group preference. And I think
Mm-hmm.
that's the case. So it's not a matter of racism is bad, because it's not. I mean, just in its purest form, just, I don't like X person because they are a part of a different group. Like that in itself is not technically bad. I don't like strawberries. Oh, I do
Mm-hmm.
like strawberries. What don't I like? Raspberries. I don't like raspberries. Like, there's no, like, who cares? Who cares if I don't like raspberries? Like, it's fucking hurt anyone at all. You know. Same thing applies to race. And indeed,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, it's
I
just
watched
preference. It's all it is, just preference.
yeah, for sure it is. And it's like a natural thing. So that's what the whole thing for me, I'm just seeing my natural instincts are being totally shut down and I'm being told I can't follow those natural instincts. As a perfect example, if I walk into a school, I don't know, I guess an area that's all black, I'm not going to feel very comfortable. All right, hey, hold on. Don't do that in my damn chat. Screen name.
What were they doing?
Anyway.
Okay, actually, never mind. I don't care.
I just don't want to get kicked off of YouTube. I don't think that's gonna get anyway. But yeah, if I were to walk into a black neighborhood or something, like I'm not gonna feel comfortable automatically. And what I'm being told and what everybody's pretty much being told is no. Like you can walk down that neighborhood and you should feel good about it because blacks aren't bad. And I'm not saying they are, like, don't get me wrong, but all I'm saying is, like, I wouldn't feel comfortable. I would feel more comfortable walking down a street in like a majority white neighborhood. That's just natural. Just like a black girl would probably feel more comfortable walking down that street with all the black houses. So I don't know. I
Yeah.
just don't like how everything it's always legislation for me. And this is where, I mean, you guys can laugh all you want. I'm still libertarian in the sense I should be free to discriminate, you know?
Yeah.
And nobody's offering me that. Like, you have the GOP that wants to put hate speech laws when you criticize Israel, or you have
Yeah. God, yeah.
Democrats that are like hate speech, everything. Like, damn it, no. Like, I want free speech and I want to be able to criticize whoever I damn well please.
Well,
And
yeah.
that's what kind of sucks for me. I
Yeah.
don't know. And then they were talking about like race and IQ. And it was really interesting because Dutton was talking about how if you have like 100 IQ society like America is right now, and then you start importing people that are like 70
Yeah.
IQ, so now you have to have a 70 IQ person try to get on in 100 IQ area, and it doesn't freaking work.
Yeah.
You can't do that. And it's mostly like sub-Saharan Africans, the Aborigines. I think their IQ is pretty low, like
It's like
55 to
mid-60s.
60. Yeah,
It's in the
really,
mid-60s,
really
if I
low.
recall. Yeah.
Yeah. And he
So,
basically
yeah.
said, like, and I forget, there was one, I think he said it was like a 55 IQ. And the person that was interviewing him, this Finnish guy, was saying, well, what's wrong with that? Like, how come, like, how is it a person with an IQ of 50 able to even survive without being like basically retarded? And like Dutton says, like, all they have to do is wake up, go catch a bird and cook it. Like, it's not that hard.
Yeah.
And that's their
Exactly.
basic life, right? So you can't expect them to come into a first world nation and then live normally.
Yeah, just look at dogs and cats and birds as great examples. They all have like pitifully low IQs. I love my cat, but god damn it, she can't do a goddamn thing. It's just the way that it is, Like, she kind of understands that doorknobs are important, these kinds of things. But she's still a cat, and she gets
Yeah.
along fine, left to her own devices. She'd be out hunting mice or something like that, So I don't, the whole like too stupid to be alive or whatever. That's bullcrap. Planets have an IQ of like 2, so whatever. Anyway, but yeah, the issue of having like different because it's not, I don't like the IQ fetishism. I really don't.
No, I don't either. But there is something to it. Like, this is kind of what I'm realizing is that it actually it's not good. So I mean, if we're importing people with IQs of like 75 to 95 or something, then what good is that going to do my nation and for my kids? Like, otherwise what's going to happen, which has already happened, is they lowered the grading system down. So like when Bush put in that whole No Child Left Behind Act, that really fucked over a bunch of kids because everybody passes. And then, I mean, once the average IQ goes down and then you have those kids that are above the average IQ, like, they're going to fail because no. You have to stay equal with the rest of the herd, which is, I don't like that. I don't like that at all.
Well, I think what's going to happen is, so I have no respect whatsoever for anyone that has a degree from Harvard or Berkeley or whatever. As far as I'm concerned, they can suck a fat one. I really don't care. The only exception I think would be STEM. So if they get like a degree in mathematics or business or something like an MBA, yeah, sure, okay, fine. But anything outside of STEM, it's like, dude, you're probably talking to a tool. You're probably talking to somebody that's an ideologue that'll throw a glass bottle at your face for disagreeing with him or something. Orange man bad and all that. I think what's going to happen is more people are going to be thinking like me, which is, I don't want to be around people that have Berkeley degrees. I don't respect them. I want to be away from them. And if I was in HR and a person came up with a resume and said, I want to join your company, and I saw that they had a Berkeley degree, I'd be like, okay, thanks, buddy. Have fun. And that would be as far as that interview ever got, And I think that's going to start happening a lot more. There's been a plunging in universities private universities a lot and public universities a little bit, left-wing ones. What was that one guy, Brett Weinstein?
Oh yeah, yeah.
Evergreen or
Evergreen
something?
State
Yeah,
College
yeah,
up in,
yeah.
what was it, Oregon or something?
I think so, yeah. Yeah, I followed that for a little while, for like a year and a half or something, because I was just curious to see what was going on. Yeah, they're tanking. They're tanking big time. Like they're having to lay people off. So it's really bad, really, really bad. And there are rumors that the school could shut down in a couple of years if this trend continues. So what I think might happen is they're going to end up shooting themselves in the foot. No one's going to trust them or believe in them. I mean, look at mainstream news, rather
Mhm.
legacy. Look at legacy news. Same thing. No one fucking listens to legacy news at all. I don't know anyone other than lefties that think that Don Lemon is worth listening to. Only lefties. That's it.
Mhm.
Nobody else. So I think that there's going to be like a whatever. Anyway, it doesn't matter. There's going to be
Yeah,
some incredible shifts. It's going to be weird.
yeah. Like I think, excuse me, the value of a degree has already gone down. I mean, like everybody gets a degree, so the value is not worth anything. You know, like who
Yeah.
cares at this point? Somebody says they have a degree, it's like, man, like I don't care. Like it
Yeah.
doesn't mean anything to me anymore. And it never did. That's why I joined the military after high school. I'm like, fuck school.
Yeah.
Basically,
I
I
knew
hated it.
someone who was a mechanic and they had a Princeton degree, and it's like, well, okay, there you go. That's the worth of a Princeton degree now. Freaking grease monkey. So
Yeah.
whatever, man.
Damn, that's crazy.
Yeah.
Whoa. What a shift. He should have just went to trade school and saved himself a bunch of money.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, well, people make silly decisions, and as long as he's happy, that's fine. I don't really care that much. I don't know him anymore. Um, but yeah, on a basic level, everything, the priorities and the things that are valued are shifting so much right now that like there's going to be some weird flips, like really weird flips. One of the things that I was thinking about a while ago is, yeah, if I ever have kids, you know, God willing, um, I don't want them going to a public school. And I
Mhm.
would want to be in a community of other people that think the same way that I do. Now, the moment you get into that mindset, it's very easy to say, wait a second. What if we just got all of our money together? We all just pooled in like $50 a piece per parent, and we just paid someone to teach those kids to read and write on their own.
Mhm.
I would respect that way more than the public schooling system by an order of magnitude. So I think that's like one of the directions that things will probably end up going.
Yeah. Mhm.
Yeah.
My one of my best friends, she's a third grade teacher, and like I always question her about this because she's very pro like pro public schooling, and I'm like not, and she knows I'm not. And like I ask her a question pretty much like I get the curriculum that they're supposed to teach, and then she kind of has the freedom to teach it any way she sees fit. So I mean, I guess, but I asked her about how they did the grading, and she said basically they just type numbers into a computer and then it just does whatever. So like that alone is like what the hell is going on? Like seriously, what's going on? You just type scores into a computer and then automatically the kids just pass. You know, it's sad, man. And the classes are full of like bad kids if you live in one of these areas where it's highly populated with Hispanics or high population of black. Like so my husband, his dad remarried and has so my husband has a little sister. I think she's 12 or 13. I think she's 12, but her like my father-in-law sends her to private school because the population of black people are so high, and he's Vietnamese. Even they know, like they
Yeah.
fucking get it, you know. And it's the same
Non-whites.
thing. Like I'm
Well, I
sorry.
was going to say non-whites are a lot more race realistic than white people, so
Yes,
not surprising.
yes. I have never met more racist people than Chinese people, to be frank.
That's actually totally the
It
case.
is absolutely true.
Yeah.
Absolutely true. I've never yeah, they're the most racist freaking people. They
Uh,
don't give a shit either, like, they
yeah.
honestly don't give a fuck about anything, even each other, like, fellow Chinese people, they don't even care. You ever tried shopping around them? Like, I go into an Asian grocery store, and it's like, I'm, like, ripping out my hair, and, like, nothing drives me crazier than I'm looking at something in an aisle, and then some China man or China woman comes up and, like, cuts me off, and she's like doesn't say excuse me. And I come from a small Virginia town. We say excuse me and thank you when
Yeah,
someone
yeah,
holds the
yeah.
door open. Like it's just little cultural differences like that that you
That's
start to
actually
notice.
huge. One of the reasons that I kind of I'm still wondering where I want to go, but I've known so many Southern people that have exquisite etiquette. Like their manners are so nice, and it's not like I don't know how to explain. It doesn't make any sense. It's very difficult to explain. But here in Los Angeles, everything is so cutthroat that when you deal with a person that simply says like hello before they talk to you, you're like, what kind of a weird exchange is this?
Hmm.
Treat
Yeah.
me like a person. What the fuck is going on? It's so weird.
That's just crazy.
Uh,
Like that is normal. Like where I come from, that's normal. If like so I also grew up on small country roads where somebody drives by, they like hold their hand out the window like, "Hey," they like wave to everybody. You don't even know them, but you're like, "Hey," you know?
yeah,
Like
yeah, yeah.
that's what I grew up with. And then I lived in the Bay Area for 7 years and then you don't get any of that. Like in fact,
Dude.
I became such an introvert after moving to California because I couldn't like who the hell am I going to relate to? Nobody can hold a conversation with me and speak the common language properly where I can have a good meaningful conversation.
Yeah.
And the cultures are so different. It's crazy. And now like this is going to sound really weird, but I would actually preach against miscegenation,
Yeah.
even though, like, obviously, I have an Asian husband, and I'm starting to, I guess, accept things that I've caught beforehand, such as because it's not my husband with the cultural differences. Like he is such a banana person, like a banana Asian. It's
Yeah.
not even funny, but it didn't. I didn't notice a cultural difference until meeting my in-laws and
Oh yeah,
then
yeah, yeah.
living near them and you know having to try to communicate with a woman whose English is horrendous.
Yeah, yeah,
So,
yeah.
like, I don't recommend mixing unless here's a kicker. I'm not saying like you should never do it. Like, maybe not. I don't know. I'm not the judge or I'm not that's not up to me to determine, but I will say if, you know, like Asian or if like especially if they don't speak the same language as you, like
Yeah.
it's huge. Like it's not something that's easy to deal with, you know. Like
Yeah.
I just talked to my mother-in-law and her husband Sunday for Father's Day and then my mother-in-law speaking Vietnamese to my kids and like my oldest daughter's like looking at me like, "I don't know, mom." I kind of feel bad.
Yeah.
And like she used to understand, but she's not around it anymore, so she doesn't have any idea
Oh
what
yeah,
her own
yeah,
grandma is
yeah.
saying to her, which is
Yeah.
kind of heartbreaking. But then it also pisses me off because the woman's been here for like 37 years and don't speak fucking English. Like, come
Yeah.
on, girl. Like,
No,
damn it, man.
I know what you mean, and this is why yeah, I'm in the same boat, and I know a lot of people that have gone that route, and it's a mixed bag. Sometimes it works out, and sometimes it doesn't. But yeah, my general thought pattern now is it's so weird because living in Los Angeles, like I grew up in the ponds, like smack in the middle of the freaking ponds, and yeah, like I would have been a normal. Yeah, just a normal bug man, really. Just a regular, average, soy chugging bug man. And now I'm like, nope, she's got to have blue eyes. It's so weird. But the reason for that, though, is because now it's like, well, but there's like, okay, so on my mother's side and my father's side of the family, there are sharp differences in who has had children and who has not had children. And on my dad's side of the family, there are possibilities for my grandfather, for his line to continue. And on my mother's side, my grandfather, my matriarchal, father, grandfather. I don't know what the word is, but whatever. Anyway,
Patriarchal. Your father's side is patriarchal.
right, but it'd be
Right.
matriarchal. But it's my grandfather on my mother's side. Whatever, it doesn't matter. The point is,
Okay.
on my mother's side, my grandfather, he's got one possibility for his Y chromosome to continue, and that's dependent on one specific cousin who is only a few years younger than I am, and he's unmarried, and I don't think he's going to get married. So I get to watch my grandfather's line die in my lifetime. So it's like, holy shit,
Damn.
when you start looking at it within that context, things get very stark very fast. And this is why, speaking for myself, yeah, like I don't know where to go, because I refuse to get married to anyone here in Los Angeles. I can't imagine anyone here that I would want to marry, in all honesty. So it's like, well, shit, where do I go? Yeah, it's a rough deal. It's a really rough deal. And of course, what do I want to do? I want to continue my family line as much as is possible. Since I've got blue eyes, I'm going to want to have a wife with blue eyes. That way, there's a greater likelihood that at least one of my children will have blue eyes. And that's actually my reason. It sounds really weird, but blue-eyed kids, that's actually the reason for me.
I hope you get it. Like, both of my parents have blue eyes, and mine came out, I'm hazel. My sister, she has green, so you never know.
True,
I don't know,
true.
like literally everybody in my family has blue eyes, and then boom, my sister and I have like green and hazel. It's the strangest thing. I don't know.
That's funny.
But I don't know. You probably get it. You're what are you? Blonde hair, blue eyed. You're like you are a surfer dude, aren't you, Eke?
Not exactly, for reasons, but oh god, such a fucking bug, man. I used to like cycling, actually, and I miss it tremendously. It's not the greatest exercise because it's really bad for your lower back, and it's kind of bad for your shoulders and your hands and your wrists. But cycling is a lot of fun. It's a little dangerous because you're scooting around in traffic, and all it takes is some asshole on a cell phone, and that's it. You can't walk again for the rest of your life.
Yeah.
But anyway, I used to love doing that. That's the closest I ever got to being athletic, though. But anyway, my thought pattern for like in-group preference, really it always comes down to the same thing, which is that hashtag diversity in a brutally lovely and funny way. The hardcore racists are the ones that will be preserving diversity, which is funny.
Yeah. It is kind of funny, and I don't know. I think it was you, wasn't it, that said if somebody comes up to you and calls you a racist, like look them dead in the eye and be like, yeah.
Yeah, that's
and
precisely. Because it's like, dude, just look at your average like Mexican dude or black dude or whatever. Like they'll look at me and they'll be like, "You're a fucking gringo," or "You're a cracker," or whatever. And it's like, well, yeah, okay, yeah.
Basically, yeah.
I don't care. It's not a big deal, And if they hate me for it, it sucks. But I'll just not hang out around them. And that's it. There you go. Done.
Yeah, pretty much. But no, you can't. You're not allowed to do that, that's so fucking gay. Like, that is just faking gay.
Actually, I'm thinking these days that there may be, this is the craziest thing I've thought of in a while, and I don't know how one would do it legally, but I was thinking to myself that the hill I die on may well be the Second Amendment, like putting all my chips into something. And it occurred to me that blacks and Mexicans and Asians, statistically, they favor gun control. And so, if you think about it from a certain standpoint, what if you had a town that demanded that the population not be skewed so as to skew the vote? Once you do that, now you can start talking about demographic voting patterns. And now you can start talking about
Mm-hmm.
who gets to stay in and who doesn't. Now, I don't know how one would do that in a court case. I don't know how one would draft that, because I imagine that there would be a lot of Title IX shit that would come in, what is it, a disparate impact or something like that. But I think it's an interesting idea. And since the radical left, they're going with their sanctuary cities, like they don't care about laws, they don't care about rules unless it's their rules that they draft for themselves.
Right.
I genuinely think the proper thing to do is to look them right in the eye and say, you're doing it too. We're only following your example. So take it and like it. The end.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I honestly, I kind of think people would be happier in their own races in a way. Like, so I went to this the racial reconciliation thing at my church, and the
How'd that
panel.
go? Did you get any
I
footage in
did. I
there?
did get it. I didn't take any pictures just because I don't want anybody's face on there and whatnot.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
But I did get the audio. It's not very loud. I re-listened to it today, but basically the panel was it was the white preacher, and there was a girl who was black and white mix. There was a man from Haiti, and then another man from I don't know, some Hispanic country. He was Hispanic, but so that's the panel, right? And there was nothing of value there. It was pretty much we need to do better. I don't know. It wasn't really insinuating anything about white people per se, although that's pretty much what it is. I mean, the only churches they're really trying to mix up are white churches. I don't, so far, I haven't heard of anybody going into Black Lutheran churches or Black Baptist churches trying to say, you guys need some white people. Like nobody's doing that. But it was basically, we need to be aware and be aware of our ignorance that minorities can be racially, whatever it's called, like discriminated against or something. It was just, I don't know, it was just dumb.
Marginalized.
Yeah, basically. And I don't know, like the question I asked was at the end of it, only a couple questions got up there. So I wrote down the question. I said, I had two questions. So I said, is there a standard for a Christian church? And then what else did I say? Hold on, I'm trying to think how I worded it. I asked if there was a standard, and if there's a standard, then fuck, I should have wrote this down because I've been meaning to talk about this. What did I say? I don't know. If the church needs to have a standard, and if there is a set standard, then who has to basically give in? I forget the exact way I worded it, but yeah, somebody has to give in. I mean, if there's Mexicans coming in, then the white people either have to cuck a little bit in order to make the Hispanics feel welcome, or the Hispanics to just adopt the white culture church that they chose to be a part of. So that was pretty much my question. And like after the pastor asked it to the panel, they were all just like, they didn't like that. Nobody really wanted to answer, but they did answer. And
it would have been funny to be like, okay, so the Haitian now has to assimilate to the Mexican, and just look at me and be like, you have to assimilate to the Mexican now.
Yeah. Basically. Yeah, that's it. Like, that's the thing. Are we going to have a set standard? And if we don't have standards, it's just what, a free for all? And it's not just the churches. This is happening all over the country. There is no set standard. And my pastor also, before the discussion got started, he said, so Houston apparently is the most diverse city in America. And he said by 2015, the entire country, or not 2015, 2050, the entire country is going to look like Houston. And when he said that, my mouth was like, oh, like I was like, oh, fuck, because it just hit me that joking. He's probably right.
Yeah, no, they're not fucking around. This is not a joke. This is real.
This is absolutely real. And it's like, it's hitting me hard, Eke. Like,
I don't blame you.
Oh shit.
Here, let me just, okay, so just so that you know what you're in store for, the chat, I'm sure, is very familiar with all of this. That is to say, there are several people in the chat that were like me, just regular normies, and then one day looked around and were like, wait a second, something's afoot. You're going to go through a big roller coaster. And that big roller coaster is going to come when you start to look into the implications of all of this, not for you, but for your family. That's actually the major issue. It's your family. Because you are going to die, but there are going to be people that come after you. And this is actually, in my own opinion, this is all about their lives. What you're doing is you're going to be setting up your family, as we all are. And that's where the actual roller coaster ride comes in, when you start to really think about, okay, how am I going to set up my family so that they're safe?
Mm-hmm.
That's a problem. Because the question is, where do you go that's safe? At the moment, let's just say, for example, we'll take me for an example because it's easy. So I leave Los Angeles and I go to, God, I don't know, we'll say Idaho for some reason. And we'll say Twin Falls. I think it's Twin Falls. We'll say that I go to Twin Falls for some reason. That place is already being injected with #diversity. Okay. So, okay, we're going to go to a different state. Let's say that we go to Maine. Maine is well over 90% white. And what do we have in the news? They are now saying Maine is too white. How do we correct this? That's the language that they're using. So the injections are pending. They're on the way. So it doesn't matter where you go. You will be hunted down. And that's the issue. And this is why, for me, it's like, okay, there are very quickly certain kinds of thought patterns that arise by reflex action, some of which I will never describe on a stream. But yeah, there are certain kinds of thought patterns that just immediately rise up. You're like, well, okay, so no one's coming to save us. And in fact, those who are claiming to come to save us have in mind our complete destruction or subjugation. So now we have to think to ourselves, how do we create a situation where our children and their children's children can somehow be safe? I don't want them to live in South Africa. I don't want them to be hacked to death because they were white or whatever.
Right.
So it's a major, major issue that's popping up right now. And in all honesty, the thing that I see in our future is closer to Brazil. That's actually what I see here in Los Angeles. The demographics are such that, or Mexico, the white population here in Los Angeles is doing two things. It's leaving and it's mixing. So you end up with what happened in Mexico. The conquistadors mixed with the Indios, and they spawned the mestizos. So they're just spanking new mestizos popping up everywhere in Los Angeles. So we are becoming Mexico, basically.
What if because I'm trying to think of how they get numbers. Like, what do? They have to go off something. Maybe white people to just start putting like black on all their application stuff. And then that way they'll kind of like throw off the demographics. You know,
I think the correct answer is straight ahead secession. Just
well, here's the problem with that, and I don't even disagree. Like, for one, I mean, if there was I don't know, the whole white ethno state is, I don't know, you have to base it in something more than just the skin color, because I honestly, it's just going to fall apart. Like, it'll last for a while, but if you don't have like a base foundation, and this is where I'm more, if I need a Christian foundation nation.
I actually agree with that, by the way.
You know,
I agree with that completely, by the way.
But also, like, there has to be something we can fucking do. Like, how can they do this? How can they put like 41,000 Somalis in West Virginia? Like, how is this possible? I don't get it. Hold on, Melky's on here. What's up, Melky?
Hey, fam. I gotta whisper a little bit, but you guys were saying just about how Houston is good, like the model for the country that's coming. Like the whole country's gonna look like that.
Or Los Angeles, or New
like
York.
Los Angeles.
Mm-hmm.
But I wanted to say, like, first of all, I didn't know that about 41,000. What did you just say? Like Somalis
Somalis.
in West Virginia. Okay, that
I don't know if they're
that
going to put all of them there, but
well, that might put a hamper in what I was about to say. But yeah, you guys know I just flew back from New York today, so I flew through Cincinnati because chaos, and so from Cincinnati to like where I live, which is south of that, 3 hours or so, like you fly over endless stretches of rural, almost uncultivated virgin land with like sparse populations of white people there, you know, like that's basically the only thing that's there. And like what I was thinking, first of all, it's beautiful. Much of it is like super beautiful. Once you go south of Cincinnati, you're like in the south, and
yeah.
it's like rolling hills and trees and open land and rivers, and it's just beautiful. And the thing is, like, we could have that. It's not that expensive. Like that land is affordable. It's just that we keep selling our birthright for lentil soup, by which I mean
Hmm.
we keep moving to cities. We keep wanting cities. Like we want Chipotle so bad that we don't become pig farmers. Right, Eki?
I'm actually completely down with that, and this is one of the reasons why some of the places that I've been looking at are basically townships. I'm much more interested in townships than a
Yeah.
city. I have no interest in cities at all anymore. So
Me too,
from
totally.
yeah,
I saw it to this week when I was in New York. I was like, this is not me. Like I don't
yeah,
want this. It's bad. We
no, no,
got to get out of here.
yeah, the section of Los Angeles. Okay, I've lived in a couple of places in Los Angeles. The place where I grew up when I was a kid. Um, I don't think I've ever described it too much. Uh, okay, I'll use this one description because I think I can say this without it being anywhere close to a docks. It was basically rednecks on the surf. So it was just total working class, Joe Blow, whatever, but on the beach. And it was inexpensive. There was a bar that was there, and I used to love that bar. I never went into it because it closed down before I was even drinking age. But the thing that I loved about it was that on the front of the bar, there was a big mural that said "warm beer and lousy burgers," and I don't know why that stuff was really funny. I loved it. But that's and it felt like a small town. That was the thing. It
Mhm.
felt like a really tiny place, and in fact, geographically, the way that it was organized, it basically was a small town. It was cut
Yeah.
off,
I
and
saw
it was
these
beautiful.
towns today from the air where they're like down in these mountain valleys and there's like a river flowing through there. And I mean, just from the sky, from 30,000 feet, I'm guessing there were 3 to 5,000 people at most living there. And it's isolated, man. Like I'm talking surrounded by hills, probably like, by standards we're accustomed to thinking by, like probably kind of a bummer. Like I'm sure there's some muddy drywall and stuff. Like it's not very nice there. But it's like, guess what? They all know each other and there's only three like hangouts and everybody goes there and it's cheers. Like we can have
Yeah,
that,
Hmm.
you
yeah.
know?
That's
Sounds like home
actually
to me. That's
no.
how it
That's
was in my hometown. Still is to this point.
yeah. No, I'm
Mm.
down. I'm
And
Well,
down.
I
like,
think.
oh, and I was saying, you guys, we just did the Esau and Jacob stream. Like,
Mhm.
what's Esau? He doesn't stay at home in a tent, right? Cooking. He's a fucking hunter. Like, go out there in the woods. Like, we have to like relearn this stuff, you know? It's like
Yeah,
I was saying yesterday, and I heard you say Eki's support for like Christian base. And I think that's like the meme that occurred to me the other day would be something like to know your ancestors, like know what they knew, right? So they were all Christians. Like go back 100 years, and all our ancestors were Christians, but they were also like duck hunters, and they also
yeah,
knew
yeah,
like family recipes going back
Mhm.
300 years and stuff.
yes.
You know what I mean? They cut their own wood. Like I mean, and listen, I don't do that stuff, but I'm telling you, like that's the path we have to take. Like we have to learn those things again, because it's who we
Yeah,
are.
yeah. This is why I've been thinking about smaller cities, well, townships, basically, for that very reason. Because like it's really weird. Like I understand that when you're in a town, the personal interrelationship dynamics are different radically. Because in the city, you don't know anyone. Like what is it?
Right.
Mhm.
Dunbar's number or something, 140 people or whatever. So anytime you change jobs, your Dunbar number is obliterated, and you have to basically reform a spanking new tribe in a way. So I think this is why people stick at their jobs for so long, because they just know everyone there. It's just a matter of psychological safety and security. When you go to a small town, that's not as much of an issue because you will know people.
Right.
So things become a lot more important when you know people.
And also, like, there's that thing where if there's a small town, there's one or two churches.
Yes.
This is my whole thing about churches, like, or like even spirituality in general is a psyop. The whole thing, like, it never should have been what it was for many of us, which is this like impossibly overwhelming, like encyclopedic smorgasbord of ideas that you, little 16-year-old Eki, are supposed to choose from. Like, how do you know? You don't know anything, right? So just go to the church your grandpa went to, right?
Yeah.
But like, we can't do that because we all moved to the big cities. There's 200 different churches, and our grandpas didn't go to the cities, and so like they were busy like hunting ducks with their bloodhounds or whatever. Like, I know it sounds larpy, like it's in a way it's gonna have to be for a generation or two, but I really
Yeah.
think that like we got to get out of these cities. Like, cities is where white people go to die.
Yeah,
I
The,
actually agree with that.
there's another thing I notice is immigrants always love shopping areas. So if you have your own town, like keep the fucking Targets, the Walmarts,
Yes.
the malls, keep them away because people love to shop. Like in the Bay Area, you go to a mall, you're surrounded by Asians and the Indians. Like that's all there, and a lot of Hispanics, of course. But like everybody loves to shop, especially foreign. I mean, I guess Americans do too. But you keep those out of your towns, then they're going to come there thinking, oh, I'm in America. And they end up in like some, bushwhack Virginia, like where I'm from. They're going to be like, this fucking sucks. And I think this is why there's not many, well, I don't know, there's kind of a lot of Mexicans now, but, there's not that much diversity because nobody wants to live in bumfuck Virginia,
Yeah. I'm actually becoming a much bigger fan of small towns that take a stand against corporations. Because, basically, because I was thinking about the neo-feudalist issue. There are all these economists that were talking about neo-feudalism as being the future of America, and I didn't understand it for the longest time, and I think I understand it now. And the idea is that sort of like what I was talking about with wherever your job is, that's your tribe. Those are the people that you hang out with. Dunbar's Law. There have been like de facto fiefdoms that have popped up with like Google or here.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah, like down the way there's Sony Studios, and like, dude, people like they had jobs there for like over a decade or whatever, and that's just what they did.
Mhm.
And so you end up with these weird cliques of people that have jobs that center totally around their lives and vice versa. And so you just end up with an economic fiefdom, basically. And almost like it's its own country. And then once you leave that job, you're like going to a different country, basically. That's kind of what it's like here in Los Angeles.
Hey, also, because Quid said in the chat that nations should have like one city. And I love that idea. Like, that is to say, the sovereign political entity that is also that is also like my people should be probably no bigger. You know what else? Aristotle said this. He said a city state should be no bigger than 100,000 people. And I was going to point out that I heard that one time that the population of Renaissance, like actually Florence, Italy, right before the Black Death, like peaked in 1350, was about 80,000, which is nothing. 80,000 people. And think of what they built. Like, Google Florence, Italy, they built that fucking amazing city, like where you'd way rather live than anywhere else, right? With the church at the center of it.
Dude,
and the baptistry,
people,
right?
That's
Yeah,
fucking
it's nothing.
Santa Monica, dude.
Yeah, and they're building like 400-foot structures out of marble, and they're surrounded by beautiful hills, and it's like they're like, it's an art city. It was like, it's beautiful. and we could have that stuff. You don't need to be a part of a 330 million person like empire.
Yeah.
Now, how to escape? I mean, well, I don't know, like probably accelerate to the end, right, or something.
Buy land and stake your claim.
Until
What other options do you
until the
have?
collapse comes. Like that's what I think too. Like we need to kind of like, and this is what I'm saying. When you fly from like Cincinnati to Atlanta, there's all this land that's unpurchased in the middle of it. I mean, and if it's purchased, you can get it for like $10,000 an acre or something. And so you could buy that stuff up, like learn to pig farm. I say pig farm because that's funny, but all the farming, you know, chickens and etc. And then yeah, like basically wait for the big crisis to happen. Just like, I mean, just do Owen Benjamin style, right?
Hmm.
I'm actually
Well, when are we doing it? Like, hurry up! We have to all do this before they shut down Twitter and ADL. Like, never lets us talk again.
Yeah. Yeah, seriously.
I've been looking at the South a little more seriously, and of all the things, Missouri is looking like one of my favorites right now. Obviously, St. Louis is a death trap. I would never be anywhere near there.
Yeah, no, that's
But Missouri, they legalized the Second Amendment, so that's awesome. Great big fan of that.
well, didn't you say Kentucky the other day or Tennessee?
Yeah, Kentucky
Love it.
has one of the lowest cost of living or something. Yeah, cost of living. So Kentucky would actually be great for general living.
And I think we should fly the rainbow flag, but make it great again.
Yeah. There's like a city called or town called Somerset. Yeah, it's a nice sounding town, isn't it?
Yeah, man. This is
Yeah.
like I honestly like this is kind of fantasy talk, obviously, but it's like when you see how people live when they move to these cities, it ruins communities and families and stuff, you know? And
Yeah.
I've seen around like in the South those beautiful old cities that have like the county courthouse at the center of them and southern magnolias all around them and flagpoles with the Confederate flag. Those cities are all dying because like they kind of, you know, they jammed through those big interstates and they moved the center of the city and set up a bunch of used car lots and you know the Globo Homo moved in. And like there's no way except to just reject all that stuff or else it just keeps
Yeah.
going. And by the way, we are talking about like mammon worship, right? So you're talking about like moral reorientation here. It's no small project, but
Yeah. Yeah. And this is why I'm still very concerned about where I'm going to go. I think this is going to be a multi-month project where I just generally look around.
hey, let me say hi to Josh, but then I'm gonna duck
Yeah.
out
Hey,
and let you
Josh.
guys
How you
talk.
going?
Okay.
For sure.
See ya.
Okay.
What's up, what's going on, Melky? Well, bye, Melky.
Okay. All right.
Okay, Ash, how you guys doing?
Hey, buddy. How's it
Good.
going? Sorry for spurging out in your chat, by the way, Josh. I couldn't help it.
Okay, gets a little
Okay,
cray
Spurgs are the best Spurg.
All right. That's all I'm done. But yeah, Josh, quick recap. I don't know how much of you heard, because I didn't actually look to see if anyone had joined, but the long and the short of it is half of us are deciding to leave the city in favor of going to a small town. So thoughts, Josh, go.
I just talked to one of the guys from TRS, the Dark Enlightenment, about new urbanism, and it's this whole movement of basically redesigning the cities so that they're not like architecturally and structurally soulless. I'm coming to terms with the fact that I might never leave New York City.
Oh my God, no! You have to get out, dude. You have to leave.
Man, I don't know. Well, so this one guy I talked to, Sam Ludwig, he's just some guy that watches the programs, and he's like, yeah,
Yeah, Sam's cool.
yeah, great guy, very smart, gives me a bunch of great ideas. He's like, yeah, leaving the cities is just more retreatist, defeatist, right-wing bullshit. It's the same thing as just it's all this LARPy stuff, like ceding ground to the progressives. And I know people that I've met here back in the day through like Free Domain Radio, Stefan Molyneux meetups, and people were like, "Yeah, I'm never going to leave New York City. Fuck these people. They can't take the city away from me." Now, I don't know if I exactly feel that way, but I just don't know if I'll ever leave.
Fair enough.
And I kind of like this idea of, I mean, the reason the suburbs exist basically is because whites were pushed out of the cities and they became, segregated areas once they started shipping in blacks from different parts of, they broke up mostly ethnic Catholic back neighborhoods in the cities. The Michael Jones slaughter of cities hypothesis.
Yeah.
And so what you have in a lot of cities is just like these hodgepodge weird refugee camps for for the people living in the country. And as much as I hate New York City and talk about how terrible it is, it has a character. It is a unique place. There's lots of things that you can do here that you can't do anywhere else, and I just don't know if I could leave and adjust to a pace of life and a lack of opportunities that would basically be everywhere else in this country. Unless I move to another major place like Los Angeles or whatever. But
Don't come to Los Angeles.
if you leave a city, it's to leave the cities. It's not to just move around to another city. And I'm too old to pretend that I can be like a rock star actor, model, whatever. So it's like it's adult time now, where it's like the career's got to work. But one place I did visit a couple of years ago that would be really cool, Santa Fe in New Mexico. And it's not such a busy, New York style life. And it has a quaintness that I could imagine myself trading this lifestyle for.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess I get what you mean. And fact of the matter is, I've lived in a city my entire life. And weirdly, when I was a kid, I was the happiest in that small town. So maybe there's a certain coloring going on there. Like my childhood is influencing my thought patterns. I can only assume that's the case. But yeah, I'm uncomfortable in the cities, and like there are no wife possibilities here. Not really. So I kind of feel like
I do wonder about you people in the cities. Like, how are you guys, or how would you guys adjust? Like for me, growing up in a small town, I moved to a city. I'm like, oh shit, it was a huge culture shock for me. And I can only imagine, like, it would be the same way for you city folk.
Yes,
to the country.
Because
What was that TV show with Paris Hilton and Nicole Richie, The Simple Life?
Oh yeah.
I feel like that would kind of be it. I don't know. I think you guys would
way.
adjust though. You would have to get used to the slow pace, like really slow pace. You don't have all the
okay with
food
that.
at your fingertips. Like,
No, I'm fucking down with that, dude. I hate it here. I hate how like you measure everything in blocks of time,
yeah.
Or it's like, all right, so I have to do, X task or whatever. And you're like, okay, so I have to allocate, drive time. I have to allocate time for the actual event itself, the drive time back, and then cool down time. Because all that time in the car is going to be really unpleasant. So I'm going to want to decompress from it. So like just going to visit somebody becomes a major like half day ordeal. It's like, fuck that, man. I'm done. I don't need this shit in my life anymore. I'm kind of okay with like, because I've actually pared down most of my life to within approximately 5 miles on the outside. So I could get through most of my life within about 5 miles of where I reside. So that's not bad. And that's perfect for a small town. That's absolutely perfect for a small town. So I kind of feel like, fuck it, I'm done. But anyway, yeah, like I agree though, because I'm so used to the sounds of the city, and I'm so used to, just like what Josh was talking about, access to things. That's one of the reasons why I'm going out right now, because I want to record as much as I can while I have access to it. Because once I leave, that's it. I don't have access to any of this anymore.
keep saying small town, and I'm thinking of that John Cougar Mellencamp song, and it makes me want to punch both of you.
Oh God. Yeah. I haven't thought about that song in a long time. Thanks.
No, it
Yeah.
ain't so bad. Like us Southern folk, we nice people.
Yeah, because that whole thing of like, okay, so this ties in a little bit to a tweet that I sent to Josh earlier, which was sprinting zombies and the major cities. I'm genuinely concerned that within the next like 10 years, if there is any kind of a civil unrest scenario, like cities are going to be fucking bloodbath. I
Hmm.
don't want to deal with that shit at all. Like at all. I don't need to deal with that. As where if you go to like a town, not a village. I don't think I could handle a village. For me, I think, yeah, like maybe 100,000, couple 100,000 is about where I'd want to be, more or less. This millions of people thing is too much for me. I don't fucking like it at all. But like on the outskirts of like a town of a couple 100,000, I'd be fine with that. And the sprinting zombie phenomenon wouldn't be such a big deal. So I'd be fine. That's my thought pattern anyway. Yeah, it's just safety.
Yeah, and the smaller the town, the less likely you're going to have a bunch of immigrants, just because there's nothing for them to do, and they really don't like that. Something I've learned about immigrants, like they have to have something to do. And if they don't,
Yeah.
like the area, they move. It's almost like the mail order brides. Like they get to where they can to get in here, and then as soon as they get in, they fucking bail.
Yeah,
Which, I mean,
basically. Yeah.
That's kind of what happens.
No, it's not kind of what happens. It's exactly what happens. Yeah. But anyway, yeah, my thought pattern is just I just want to be in a place where in a real civil distress scenario, I don't have to worry about like tens of thousands of people within a couple of miles of me all looking for a sandwich, and if I happen to have one, I get murdered for it. So that's the only reason why I don't want to be in Los Angeles anymore. So like I think that if I believed that everything was going to be totally stable indefinitely, I think taking back the cities would be fucking cool. But the thing is that like I've watched my own family disintegrate, both sides, just fucking fall apart. So, and they're good people, they're nice. I'm not trying to denigrate them in any sense. It's just that I've watched the family line in terms of births. It's being destroyed. So it's kind of like, fuck it. Why would I want to stay in the city where it's incredibly unlikely that I'm going to get a wife or have kids? Fuck it. I don't need that. But that's just anyway.
Yeah, but there's also like they talk about brain drain with the third world coming to the West, but there's also like ovary drain where just all of the viable women move to the cities.
Oh, yeah, it's true. No, it's true. It's true. You have no idea. Well, okay, you, Josh, have a very good, clear idea about that.
It turns into RK selection. That's like I was listening to Ed Dutton talk about this. It's like mostly high IQ people, and I'm not even saying that IQ makes that big of a difference, but at some point, it really starts to make a difference. So you normally, I guess statistically, high IQ people don't have as many children, so that leaves everybody else. It's like the R strategy when it comes to bearing kids, and so that leaves
reasons why I want to have a kid, so that I could be like, oh God, please, somebody fucking survive.
Yeah, no kidding.
Yeah,
it's sad. Like the whole freaking thing is just, it's really, really sad, and it's damn a major red pill for me.
What Josh was talking about with the ovary drain, what you end up with is chicks coming to the city and they go straight ahead hypergamy, straight ahead thought / roasty, and it's fucking depressing to watch. And I've seen this too. I've actually watched chicks come from like smaller towns or whatever, and they literally say, I'm just here to find myself. And I'm like, oh God damn it.
Yeah. Well, there's no rules in cities. It's like anything goes. Go ahead. I'm sorry, Josh, go ahead.
I apologize. I was going to say this. My least favorite sentence in the English language is, I'm going to find myself.
Yeah.
Like, what does that mean?
I'm gonna find myself in a whole bunch of dicks. That's what it means.
Basically, yeah.
Yeah, but that's what, like, seriously, I don't know if any of you guys have been to San Francisco, but you go there and there's basically no fucking rules. Like, there's no rules, there's no set standards. So it's a free for all. And these people just migrate to these cities and like, oh, well, anything goes, so I can do whatever I want. And when you don't have a set standard, everything just fucking falls apart. And the cities are the worst ones.
I can't help but find this funny. The phrase "anything goes." There was a song from, I can't remember. It was a musical from back in like the 1920s or something, and the song "Anything Goes." That's all about basically the hyper-paused Weimar Germany shit that is going on in San Francisco right now. Listen to the song. I'm serious. Listen to the song "Anything Goes." Read the lyrics and then compare it to San Francisco, Los Angeles, or whatever. And it's shocking. We're going right back into it. All right, there's an echo from the past. But anyway, yeah, the free for all is a bit much, and that's another reason why I don't like this city anymore. I don't like being in cities anymore. It's just too much for me. It's too Blade Runner-y, but like Blade Runner, but depressing, like dirtier and more depressing and dangerous.
Yeah, more shit and fecal matter and less cool robots.
Exactly. And like if I got rain and neon signs, that would be something. But we don't even fucking neon signs here. It sucks.
Damn, man. Oh no, that's San Francisco. Like, have you guys ever been there? Either one of you?
No.
You don't want to go. Like, you don't want
Yeah.
to go. You have been, Eke?
Yeah, I went to San Francisco, but this is like 20 years ago. And I can't even imagine what it's like now. I mean, at the time, it was weird too, because like I fell in with these people and they were like super open and really weird about it. Because I was like, what the fuck? I was like, I don't know you people, but they were inviting me to like lunch and breakfast and shit. They're driving me around, and it's like, well, I'm grateful and I'm happy, but like I don't fucking know you people, And it's like, people with no boundaries like that, like something's going on. So anyway, I was only there for a couple of days and it was fun. It was amusing. I went to Oakland, actually. I was in San Francisco for the tiniest little bit, and then I was in Oakland for most of the time. And San Francisco itself was actually really nice.
Yeah, the city itself is nice, but then once you start heading down, like you go to Castro District, and I'm pulling this up for you guys. I got rid of Facebook, like deactivated, but I'm pulling this up for you guys because I want you to see the city. I hope I have the pictures on here still. I'll have to share my screen, but the place is literally an utter shithole. Literally feces everywhere, homeless everywhere, needles everywhere. I mean, it's just disgusting. And then you go down to the Castro district, which is the gay district of the city, and just flaming, literally like men just standing around naked. So there's a trolley that goes from Fisherman's Wharf, and it comes all the way down the Embarcadero, which is pretty much like the main strip. It kind of curves around the city, and it stops in Castro. And you get off, and like the main spot is packed full of naked old men with their dicks hanging out.
Yeah,
literally. It's like,
I know.
Wild.
There's a section of Los Angeles called West Hollywood, and it's not dissimilar. All the memes that you see on, the transgender, the drag reading stuff, the drag library reading, whatever thing. You know what I'm talking about?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's just like, that's a Thursday night. That's all it is. It's just Thursday, and they'll be doing it again on Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday. So you're like, oh God, this is a bit much.
How does that happen? Like, how the hell did trannies get in libraries?
Oh, well, the thing, it's okay. So it's a combination of factors. There is a portion of the population that does seem to be predisposed to homosexuality, and it's my theory that the gene or the whatever the mechanism itself is largely dormant in most of the people that have that mechanism, whatever the hell it is. And if it's not triggered, then they're just kind of a dandy, and that's about it. But if it is triggered, they go straight ahead homosexual. That's my theory, but but I could be wrong. Anyway, I think that what's happening right now is a combination of factors. I think that I think that with that population, it's being triggered a lot more here in the cities. And I also think that there is a lot of social cachet to fronting like you're a part of it. So there will actually be straight people that pretend that they're in on it and they're a part of it, even though they're not. So I think what's happening is like a weird cascading effect that's completely artificial. And once these circumstances are made not to exist, a lot of this will simmer down. But that's just, I could be wrong. And I think there is something like this is a little bit woo-woo, this is a little crazy, but I really do think there is something to the idea of mass hypnosis. I do think that there's something to the idea of like some weird spell cast on the city or something like that. And that once you break that spell, the people kind of go back to normal, basically. It sounds crazy. I know it sounds crazy, but I mean, here in Los Angeles, like I look at it, I watch it all the time, and it throttles the imagination. You wonder to yourself, how the fuck did this even happen? I'm surrounded. Like there was a guy that I knew, I don't know him anymore, but this guy, he was a fairly handsome guy. He was 6'1", 6'2", blonde hair, blue eye, the good chin, the whole nine, and fairly fit, well spoken, pretty intelligent. I would say he's about 105, 110 IQ. He would be a catch. And the guy, like I was talking with him, and I don't remember about what, this is back in like 2017 or something, and he looked at me, he's like, fuck white people. I was like, God damn it.
Jesus Christ. Where do you think, so Josh, I have a question for you. Where do you think white guilt comes from? Like, what do you, where does that main source come from, you think?
It's a good question.
Sorry, I didn't mean to like catch you off guard or anything.
No. I was still thinking about the tranny thing before, but not in a weird way.
Josh confirmed weird.
I think kids get browbeat in their childhood, and then you can just scaffold programming on top of that base. I mean, I don't know if it's like a middle class suburban thing or what, but I do think parents emasculate their children or kind of like just cut them down at their knees before they even hit puberty, and then these kids go into school and they're ripe for taking the new psychological programming.
That's interesting. So I have a neighbor whose daughter was in my daughter's class, and like her daughter's white. They're white family. And we were talking about this thing because she also goes to the same church as me. And she and I were talking about like this racial reconciliation. And then she told me a story about how her daughter came home and was crying and said, like, what is a white girl? What is a black girl? And my friend's like, no, we haven't talked about race or anything. But apparently a black girl that was in our daughter's class, where they were playing tag, and then her little girl didn't want to play. So the black girl's like, but why not? Like white people love to play tag. And her daughter just didn't understand it. So it's interesting because I think this happens pretty often, whereas parents will, especially white parents, will say like, no, you're going to be colorblind. Whereas everybody else, they tell their kid, like black people are very proud of their heritage and their culture and their color of their skin, as are Hispanics and Arabs and Asians. Like they're very proud of their culture. And so they tell their kids like, hey, you're black, like their kids already know the difference. Whereas white kids are more prone to, being, they don't know, like they literally are colorblind in that sense.
I received that. I got that for the majority of my childhood.
Yeah, I did too.
Yeah,
I was like, go ahead.
I was just going to say, being the majority, it's easier in a sense to have a group identity if you're a minority because you're just constantly being reminded of your minority status.
Right.
So you have these kids that just life is life to them, and they have no solidarity because they live in a world of individuals where everything is kind of speaking directly to them. You have little, little Chantal or Shanquasia Jr. and like virtually nothing they're exposed to, pre-2000 is speaking directly to them.
Yeah.
And their parents are acutely aware of it too. I think a lot of it has to do with dysfunction too. Weak fathers, overbearing mothers, breakdown of authority in the household. White people have been encouraged to shy away from personal authority in their lives. And again, I think you can just easily take advantage of that and insinuate in people's brains all kinds of guilt complexes.
Hmm. Yeah, well, it's easy to do. I mean, you got slavery and the Holocaust. Like, oh God, white people, like, don't you forget those two things, whatever you do. And honestly, like that really does break down your morale when you're just held guilty literally for everything because the color of your skin. That's why it's like it's just fucking retarded if you ask me. And I don't know, like I'm on the fence now. Like I'm gonna start telling my kids, like, hey, this is what you are, you know? And I don't know, I guess for me, I'm in a weird situation, but I know my husband would agree with me when I say this, but my kids are gonna be raised white. Like I got them flat footing in my kitchen the other day to some like Charlie Daniels music or something. And it was great.
Do it. Do
Yeah.
it.
Yeah. And so, I mean, that's the only thing I can do. Like, I'm not raising them as Vietnamese speaking individuals. I mean, I don't know. And my husband years ago, even said like, well, Ashley, our kids are going to have an identity crisis. Well, maybe, I don't know. This is a thing I never thought about before. But I'm definitely going to make them aware of their race for sure, and everybody else's for that matter. Like, hey, there are differences.
Yeah, you have no choice.
Yeah.
Prepare them for the future as best you can. So just make sure that they may have an identity crisis. That is actually possible.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that if you instill in them certain kinds of values and thought patterns, reinforce them, I mean, they can overcome a lot. I mean, I had like the hard line globo homo gayplex mentality basically beaten into me when I was a little kid. And somehow it doesn't make any sense, but a combination of factors, like I ended up over the past like couple of years leaning on some of the things that I learned when I was a little kid to kind of help me through some of the psychological trauma that I've been going through on my, awakening, red pill, whatever. So it's like if you can get them to basically just have like positive value sets, my God, that goes so long. That goes so far. It's huge. It's everything, I think.
I'd be curious if there were a racial identity problem with your kids. Obviously, I don't know you personally, but it does seem like you and your husband love each other very much and have a good relationship. And when I think of the types of pairings that seem to produce the most dysfunctional identities, it's usually Jewish Caucasian, Jewish Black, Black Asian, something like that, where either there's a high probability that the father won't stick around for the family, or that the mother is going to emasculate the father, thus delegitimizing that identity in the mind of the child. The literature talks about mixed race children having these kinds of issues, but I would be curious if that was necessarily the issue with you. I would almost wager that might not be as big an issue as, say, the other demographics.
Yeah, maybe so. I was listening to Vox Day. This was a long time ago, but he was talking about nations, and pretty much like he was talking about specifically mixed race. And what he basically said was like, if there is like my children and they're in a majority white nation, it's pretty much up to that nation whether or not they want to accept that person. So, I mean, and my guess is they probably would, considering, I mean, as long as my kids are, I don't know a better way to describe other than like acting white or like they're, you know what I'm saying. But I don't know. Like, what do you think about that? Do you think that nations can kind of pick and choose between mixed race, or are you more for like straight homogeny?
I'm not nationalist, and I don't think there's ever a getting back to a kind of racial homogeneity or anything approximating like an 80-20 split.
Mhm.
So people, as whites, we just are going to have to learn how to navigate this new world where we are a minority. I'd like to see us end up in a powerful position so that it's easier to maintain our status rather than just get swept up in the hordes of colored people. But I had a thought earlier. I just wanted to circle back to, not to change the topic too much, but like, where does white guilt come from? You know, I noticed like a lot of Mediterranean whites don't really have the guilt. Italians, Greeks, people like that. It seems to be more of like the Nordic and Saxon people that have that as an issue.
I'm gonna go ahead and just chime in for a second. My personal experience is yes, I've seen that.
Just Mediterranean people, for whatever reason, are more clannish, and maybe there's a psychological thing with Saxon or Nordic types where they're just. I mean, you look at those parts of the countries, and that's where you see the craziest bending over backwards for diversity, and not even just among the leadership, but among just the citizenry. Yeah, so that's why Mediterraneans are the master race, I think.
That's funny. I love it. But yeah, you can see that in what is it, Minneapolis, right? Minnesota, rather. Yeah, Minnesota. Those are all Nords. All of them. They're Nords. And what are they doing? They're just like, we got to get some Somalis in here. It's like their big thing right now. And yeah, the guy that looked at me and said, "Fuck white people." Yeah, blonde-haired, blue-eyed. It's like, well, all right. I've actually seen this. I've seen like so many self-loathing, blue-eyed white people. It's very fucking weird. And yeah, same thing. Like, I know a couple of Mediterranean people that are like, they don't give a fuck. They're like, no. We are our own thing, and that's all there is to it, and fuck everyone else. And I gotta say, it's kind of based.
It might just be because I've been watching The Sopranos every day for the last few weeks, but I've only got like a good 20% Italian heritage, but I'm really feeling like claiming that pretty heavily.
Dude, why not go for it? Fuck it. Who cares? As far as I'm concerned, go with it. You've got brown hair. No, you got like almost black hair and brown eyes. So fuck it. Go with it, man. Do it.
It'd be funny if somebody went to one of these cities like San Francisco or New York and then made like a white town. Like you have Chinatown and Little Italy and all that. It's like you call it Little Whitey.
Down with that. That'd be fucking great. Like Little Edinburgh or something. That'd be great.
Yeah. It'd
I'd
be
be all
funny as
about that.
hell.
Everyone would like, they would all listen to bagpipe music and eat haggis and shit.
Yes. Oh my God. Yes. Oh, I love the bagpipes. Yeah.
I
That
know
would be
about
amazing.
that.
That's amazing. Yeah, that would be great. And but the thing is, you would never get that pass. Like, oh no, Whitey, you ain't doing that here.
Yeah, that's actually one of the things that I've been thinking a lot about, which is that white people don't have like okay, so for example, when I see Nordic people, I'm like, they're Nords. They're not Scots. You know, and like that's just the way that I think, you know, and same thing. I see Italians and I'm like, they're Italians. They're not Scots. And so it's like, it's really weird. Like I legitimately have like an in-group preference just for Scots of all things. And for Brits too. I like Brits, and I'll even go so far as to say the Irish are not too bad. But I kind of think that there may be something to the idea that like a larger pan-European whatever is totally not going to happen, and people actually are going to kind of revert back to Well, I'm like 60%, this and 40% that. So I guess I'm going to go with a 60% to just call it a day. I think that might happen. I think we might see more of that. I don't know. It's hard to say.
Hmm.
I mean, it's
I don't
harder in
know.
America though, because here it's like there's so many Germans that came in and just basically occupied the center of the country, and
Yeah,
then
there's tons of Germans, like
yeah,
South Dakota, Montana.
yeah,
That whole area is packed full of Germans.
yeah, and of course the Nords, the Swedes or whatever, they went up into Minnesota and that whole area, and the East Coast is largely English, largely. So yeah, I kind of feel like one thing that one might do is just say, okay, fine. So I've got a last name that ends in, I don't know, the fuck German names end in, but whatever that ends in, maybe yeah, I'll just go to like the Dakotas or something. And if I've got a last name that ends in, Jurgsen or something, I'll go to Minnesota. Because my thought pattern now is like if Maine weren't being targeted for hashtag diversity, I wouldn't mind going to Maine, because the population would be goddamn close to my own genetic stock. Anyway, I don't know why I'm thinking about that. That's weird.
I don't know. I'm on the side of, speaking of like places to live in the country. I think the Appalachian Mountain Range is going to be your safest bet. Like that's where I come from, and that whole range, all the way from Maine all the way down to Georgia, where it ends, that's like America right there. Like that's my Appalachian peeps. But yeah, it's safe. It's a good place to raise a family, and there's very, very small amount of minorities. Like besides white people, it's like blacks would be the next in line. But all the blacks that live in Appalachia are, I don't want to say whitewashed, but kind of, sort of. They're not like the city ghetto blacks. So I don't know. Interesting, but
Yeah,
Georgia's pretty beautiful. I would go for Georgia.
hot though. Very hot.
I'd want to go a little farther north than Georgia. I've heard about the summers. The only problem with the South is the humidity, the mosquitoes and so on. That's the only problem.
Mm-hmm.
If it weren't for that,
ticks and mosquitoes are like the worst.
yeah, it'd be fucking paradise if it weren't for that one thing. But I mean, if you can somehow get around like the Lyme disease, it's pretty good.
Yeah, just don't get bit by a tick.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's where I'm trying to go back to. I'm ready to restake my claim.
Hell yeah, do it, man. I would. Why not?
Reconquista of the Appalachia. Is that what's happening?
Yeah.
There's also another thing that comes to mind, which is that if you go to an area where there's no welfare, like you automatically, like de facto, you take out the hashtag diversity just because there's no welfare. So smaller towns, nothing to do, plus no welfare, you're pretty much good.
Yeah, pretty much. That's the best bet. Yeah, just keep it small and keep the corporations out, so the immigrants have nothing to want to live there for, basically.
Yeah.
And I'm so big about like buying up land. Like that is so huge. And the more land that you buy up, I mean, you do whatever you want with it. Cultivate it, put houses on it, and then, let anybody you want on there. You don't have to have the government coming in and tell you, you need the Somali in your neighborhood.
Yeah, well, here in Los Angeles, that's a minor issue.
Right.
And that's one of the reasons why I want to go out to the country. Here in California, the whole Agenda 2030 thing, they're looking at it as a long-term process. And what they want to do is create Brave New World. And Brave New World, so that was written by Aldous Huxley. He was involved in all of that social engineering stuff. And what they were talking about was mega cities that existed as islands in relatively untouched and pristine nature preserves. And there were some people that lived on those nature preserves. But the people in the mega cities, they had their own lives, so totally divorced from the rest of the land or whatever. And the Agenda 2030 program actually kind of resembles that, because I am looking at gargantuan megastructure buildings that are designed to be, stack and pack and whatever. 5G technology, all up the sides. Everyone's going to have fucking cancer in 20 years. But yeah, the idea is that you take people out of the rural areas. The way that you take people out of the rural areas is you condemn everything. You call everything blight. And once you call it blight, then you get to do whatever you want from a city planner standpoint. So I think that's what they're trying to do. I've heard these stories about what they're doing to decrease rural populations is they stop repairs on smaller roads, so it's less likely for people to want to live in those areas. So you would end up having to, in a hardcore, Blade Runner, Brave New World, whatever, creepy scenario in the future, you would probably end up going like quasi-Mennonite, where you've got your own ability to fend for yourself, more or less, and you just import resources as is necessary. So, speaking for myself, I can get by without too much, with very little input. So I would actually be okay with that.
I don't want a Blade Runner future if I don't get to have a Sean Young girlfriend.
I'm in agreement. I'm totally in agreement. As absolutely batshit crazy as she was pretty woke. She was actually pretty woke. She was naming them way back in like the 80s and 90s or something. So worth mentioning. Yeah, she'd be a good waifu.
Can I ask you guys a question from like a male standpoint? This is kind of off topic, but I'm curious since I have two guys here that are like woke to this stuff. So how do you navigate trying to find a good woman in this whole area? Like I don't know, like how do you do that?
Josh, do you want to take point on that one? I don't know.
Well, my strategy for the last few years has just been to relentlessly raise my status. That's the only way. I don't know how else it works. I've done online, I've done bars and clubs. The last year I had friends set me up with friends. I just need to become some kind of overlord and then dominate terrain and pick the daughters of the men who I've conquered. And that's pretty much going to be my strategy.
That's actually very close to mine as well. Everything that I'm doing is much more back end. I'm hoping to have a breakout, later on. Josh is going full force all the way right now, so he's got a lot more to show than I do for his efforts. But that's absolutely the case for myself as well. Chicks like status. They like status and they like money. And I don't have a lot of money, but it's possible that maybe in the future I could have some status, because once you've got that, because I mean, at the end of the day, like chicks, they want stability. They want stability. They want happiness in general, and like if you could just apply a couple of those basic things, it's not so bad. That's everything I've learned anyway. So yeah, basically just go high status and you're pretty much set, financial stability plus high status. But otherwise here, no, it's a fucking wasteland out here. The vast majority of so the Christians are not woke here at all. A lot of them are doing the same thing you're doing. They're involving themselves in the racial reconciliation programs. I'm serious, like it's a real thing here. And the churches are also like they get paid to import immigrants. That's like a real thing, by the way. I'm serious.
It's terrible. Same here.
Yeah. So I have no interest in going to churches at all. And I did go to a church like a decade and a half ago or something like that. It was the one that Ronald Reagan went to, and it's 100% cucked. So I have no interest in the churches here. So that basically leaves the general population just around me. And I can say in all honesty, like I've met two women that could have been theoretical prospects. Yeah, theoretical, but not practical in any sense. So it's just It's a wasteland here. So many of the chicks are SJWs here. It's crazy, and I don't know how to find non-SJWs in Los Angeles. So, yeah, I just want out.
So here, all right, if you guys don't have to answer this, but I'm also genuinely curious, like from a male brain perspective. So, like, how do you refrain once you see like these pretty girls in these, tight short clothes and whatnot? Like, how do you,
That was very easy.
Yeah.
My brain, when I turned 28, so about 5 years ago, like literally my 28th birthday, a switch flipped in my brain, and I went from dude bro to dad. And I just don't look at women the same now. I look at young tardy women, and I just like I weep in my heart. I think, "Ah, you're breaking your father's heart." I just look at them, and I just I don't look at them like sexual objects. I look at them like retarded little children playing dress up, and it's not sexy.
Yeah, that's actually I'm pretty much there too. I mean, because I'm in Los Angeles and I did get a lot more of the pause. I've got a little bit more of the latent psychology in me, but that's pretty much the case for myself as well. I just look at it and it's like it's weirdly depressing to look at because you're like, well, all right, that sucks. That's a person that's gonna throw their life away on a bunch of bullshit that doesn't matter. So, all right, it sucks. It's like it's a real bother. Like, there's this one chick that I knew. I had the biggest crush on her too, and yeah, like she went the normal. I don't want to say. I don't want to disparage her, but she had a few relationships, and then she got married, and it's like, well, shit, you could have spent that whole time with an actual husband. Getting kids, building up a family, and all that other good stuff. And I'm now convinced that she's probably gonna have like maybe a kid if she's lucky, and that's it. And that's where so much of it is. No, yeah, that
Can you guys see this meme I have up right now?
yeah,
This is one of my favorite things. Like, this is the state of America right now.
yeah. And that's what I actually look at here in Los Angeles, like every day. Just chicks, showing their ass, and you're like, well, that's neither sexy nor cool, and indeed depressing.
Well, two things. Interestingly, you see some of this white pill data. People will pump out articles about which races marry out of their gene pool the most, and white women marry outside of their race the least. But what they don't tell you is what white women do up until they decide to get married, which is relentlessly mud shark. Um, to the serious question or serious answer about how do you meet women, I'll say this, it's remarkably easy because the culture has gotten so degenerate. Most women cake on makeup like you would not believe, and what was sexy 5 years ago is now like prostitute level now. It's just a race to the bottom. So the good women actually don't wear a lot of makeup. That's usually my indicator of, okay, all right, she's not wearing a lot of makeup. She's approachable. If I go on a date with her, I tell her I want to have 14 kids. If she laughs, then I go on a second date with her.
Yeah, that's pretty much my thought pattern as well. What is it? It's a weird comparison, but it kind of makes sense. The movie Mean Girls, starring Lindsay Lohan.
Yeah.
Yeah. The director of that movie said something to the effect of, during the beginning of the movie when she's just wearing like a flannel shirt and jeans or something, he was like, she will never be more beautiful than in this shot in the movie. I agree. Because apparently Lindsay Lohan, I think she's fucking psychotic. But she was really big on lots of makeup and big hair and big dresses and shit like that. And it's like you see her in those outfits in the movie, and you're like, oh my god, it's skin crawlingly weird. But yeah, the two prospects that I saw earlier this year, both of them had almost no makeup on a piece. It's like the only thing that I find attractive anymore is just a regular, straight ahead, just woman doing her own thing. Seeing that line, oh my god, that line where you see like the jaw.
Oh, the
through the neck.
jawline. Yeah.
Yeah,
It's
god
all
damn it.
different colors.
I hate it. It's horrible.
Yeah, it's weird because it's like the social media culture, what is done to women is it's nothing to be taken lightly, I don't think. And I've heard Melky say this before, like talking about girls, especially on Instagram, whether they're teens to, I don't know, when do women start looking like they're getting older? Like mid 30s or so, when women start to really age and like the fat comes out of their faces, you know, and they're not this youthful, you know, fertile looking woman anymore. It's like, what are these women going to do?
Dude,
And not only that, but like
Yeah.
the influence they have on other women to look like them. So like you see these makeup accounts on Instagram and it's like crazy. It's absolutely insane. And then women think that's the ideal. So you see a lot of it. Like Asian women are probably one of the worst ones, especially in like the bigger city Asian women. But yeah, like the makeup thing is crazy. It's good to know that there are men there out there that don't like it. Like I think a lot of women wear it. I don't know if they think it makes them look hot. I think a lot of women also like to dress up for other women.
Yes.
Which
Yes.
is really bizarre. And
Because it's competition. The thing is that they're
Right,
engaged in competition in exactly the same way that Josh and myself were engaged in competition. He's got so many feathers in his cap. I've got so many feathers in my cap. So, you know, if Josh and I were out about town for some reason, both of us would have to like puff up by comparison to be like, oh, I'm cool, I'm hip, or whatever, to go for a chick. And the same thing with chicks. They're like, gotta fucking doll up, you know? But the problem is, yeah, I agree. A lot of the dolling up, like, because here in, okay, there's that whole thing of the 80-20 rule, right? 80%, 20%. And my understanding is that 20% of men are going for 80% of women. So the incel thing is actually real.
Is that the MGTOW? Like the men go their own way? Is that what that's all about?
A little bit, yeah. So you've got guys that are basically, for want of a better phrasing, chads, and they can go onto Tinder and upload any old photograph and they look good in a burlap sack and chicks are like, oh my god, sweet. They come to the cities and they use themselves up on those guys. And those guys, some of them aren't that bad. Some of them are utter assholes, depending. I've seen a lot of the spectrum. But yeah, like they've got pick of any of like 80% of chicks. So when you're in that context, if you're a chick, you have to do something because, you know, again, there's 7 other chicks that guy can pick from. So you have to stand out somehow. And I think that's where you end up with this really weird hypergamy, chicks just going crazy with this shit, you know, like dressing up, dolling up all the time. I mean, it's the only explanation that I've got. You just have a crazy situation where dudes, a select number of dudes have pick of the litter. And so chicks, they go crazy. They have to doll up to make a difference. It's weird too, because like, I mean, it's all of the chicks that I've ever liked in life, they were, every one of them, the ones that didn't have makeup on. And it's like, god damn it, they're a dying breed or something. And it's like, because here in the cities, like the chicks that just are straight ahead, just, you know, a chick and nothing more. I mean, usually they're like introverts, you know, and they don't go out much, so it's hard to meet them. So it's like, well, fuck, you know, it's a real pain in the ass. I don't know what to
Chat
make
said
of
if
it.
you want to get a woman, wear a wedding band, which it is true.
Oh, God,
But I don't think I would try to pick up a woman that would want you because you have a wedding ring on.
Yeah, I can't handle that.
That would be
'cause-
awful. But you want to know something else that's really attractive to women is seeing men with children for whatever reason. Like
Oh, yeah,
honestly,
yeah.
that's one of the big reasons I really liked my husband so much is because I saw him interact with kids,
Oh,
and I was
shit.
like, oh, like that is a father figure right there. So I was
Okay.
like, that's what I need. And like that's my personal opinion. And I mean, of
Josh,
course,
take
I'm
We
it
need to
also.
kidnap children, basically.
I'm sorry.
We need to kidnap small children, basically.
That's right.
Basically, contact your local Democrat and he'll hook you up. But
All right,
no, yeah,
Josh,
but
you're gonna have the kid on the odd days. I'll have the kid on the even days. It'll work out. It's fine.
no, but that is serious. I mean, if you have friends that have kids and like there's other women around, or I don't know, this when women see men interact with kids, and especially if they're a woman that wants kids in the future, then it's nice to see a man that plays with kids, of course. Like if I were like, I don't know, if I met my husband and he wasn't into kids, and I wouldn't have went for him, to be honest, because I knew what I wanted in my future. And if the guy doesn't care about children, then like I don't care about him. So I mean, take that for what you will.
No, that's
I'm not
actually
trying to tell you guys what to do. I'm just telling you my own
That's
personal
actually
experience.
it's worth knowing about because at some point, once I finally leave Los Angeles, I'm gonna want to put myself into a context where maybe I'll manage to be in that kind of a situation, where I can actually wife up. That'd be amazing.
Yeah.
So yeah, these are the kinds of ideas that I want in my head.
Hmm. Or I mean, if you don't have a kid to like display your affection towards children, then I don't know. Just say I want kids in the future.
I'll just rent one. They're fine. They're cheap. It's not a big deal. You can pick them up in downtown. It's fine.
Take some
Pretty
black
much.
women's kids. They don't want them.
Yeah. God. Anyway, yeah. Yeah, because I remember hearing about there's a guy that was telling me that if you just say to if you are open and upfront that you want to get married and have kids, you will probably start punching above your weight. And basically what you're saying, Ash, is the same. Just if you are interested in an actual future, you're going to start getting bites. And but these are good bites. The one guy that was talking about the wedding band, that's real. I've seen it. But who are the women that are going to do that? They're already willing to cheat on someone or to be involved in a cheat relationship. So you're not going to be getting quality out of that at all. It's only good for people who have lascivious lifestyles. So I think that being clear about your intentions, yeah, you're going to get the hits or the bites that you want. You're going to be able to, yeah, basically attract the kind of person that you want to be around. So, all right. Anyway, I'm actually kind of getting tired right now.
I know. I'm gonna shut this thing down too. But
yeah, I have a cold, so I've been talking.
Elderberry. Get you some elderberry, Eke. It's a miracle.
I don't know where to get those, but I'll see if I can find something. Yeah, I'm gonna go and watch a movie and go to sleep. So that's the plan. Josh, as nice interacting with you as per usual.
Yeah, dude, man.
Yeah, Ash, thanks for having me on the stream, and I hope that everyone in the chat flosses. All right, cheers, guys.
All right, bye. Okay, thank you. Yeah, and Josh, thank you so much for coming on. I appreciate it, man.
Sure, it's good to talk to you. Have a good night.
Night. All right, everybody. Woohoo, that was a fun chat. I know. Aren't you guys glad I didn't show my shoulders? I should just freaking troll you clowns. Anyways, all right. I'm getting tired too. I'm gonna read more Culture of Critique. You guys stay based and start listening to some country music. All right. Peace out, y'all.